Hello, hello. How are all my hunters, all of my Valkyries today? I know that it has been a rough couple of days, and I took a day off from posting yesterday because I just needed some time to really sit with everything that happened and to process my emotions before speaking about it. I had a whole roller coaster of emotions. Like I went from angry and disappointed and crying and all of that, and just feeling like it's over, like there's no more hope, there's no more point in trying. And I even had this moment where I was like, okay, you know what? It's over. At least now I know that it's over and I can stop fighting. There's just no chance at all that Valko could be coming back. But then, I went onto social media, I checked Red Note and threads and everything. And at first, a lot of people were reflecting my same emotions, but little by little, things started to change. People were still talking about how, we can still actually fight harder. Like, we need to continue on fighting. And I'm like, what are these people talking about? Like, don't they see what I'm seeing? Like, it's totally, completely 100% hopeless at this point. The company hasn't released Valko yet. They just never intended to. They're not going to anymore, but I remembered that from the very beginning, we always knew that this was a marathon and not a sprint. We knew that there was a high likelihood that they would not be unveiling Valko on the 9th. And even though it's been so disappointing that they haven't given us any official statements the way that we hoped that they would, still, there's many people who feel like there's so many things that we can still do now. And at first, there was just this view that Infold was the villain. They were the bad guys. They didn't want to release Valko to us. And then these other views started to pop up that actually, no, it's because they're facing so much public opinion pressure from media and government and things like that. And we need to be more understanding. We need to help them out, actually. And so between these two views, I didn't know what to believe, honestly, because I still felt like they had problems, but at the same time, I could understand that they themselves are facing problems locally and domestically within China. So I was like, what exactly is it that we're supposed to do now? Like, if we are going to go and fight harder, what is our action plan? Because I feel like we really went into this kind of like unprepared the first time. And that was because, that it was so valid. We didn't really have time to prepare. Everything just sprung on us so quickly. One moment, Infold was like, no, 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 we are standing by our decision. We are going to be releasing Valko no matter what. And then the next moment, they're like, oh, dear Miss Hunters, we're actually canceling him and stuff like that. So we kind of just like went into everything really, really quickly because everything happened so quickly. And we didn't have time to develop a battle strategy in many ways. But I feel like now that we have had that time, and now that we have been in this battle for over a week now, we can really sit back and be more reflective. We can think about what didn't go well and what did go well. And not only that, I feel like it's so important for us to understand the company itself. I did a lot of research into Infold, and I just watched a lot of different videos and stuff like that concerning their history and previous games that they made, as like with Infinity, Nikki, and stuff like that. And it just seems like the way that they're responding to this crisis right now, it is their MO. So I made this post on Threads. Let me just read it out to you. After today, I spent a long time wondering why Infold made the decision they did with Valko and whether there was still a chance to bring him back or not. I saw so many theories, ones that made Infold the victim, government involvement, business rivals, etc., and ones that made Infold the villain. They just never cared about us. They've always been a shady company, etc. I spent a long time wondering what was the truth and what I should do about it. So I decided to look into who exactly Infold is, and that's when I learned all about their past with Infinity Nikki. I realized that then that they were never truly a victim in this Valko situation, but were playing an active role as villains. Because everything they're doing now is their exact MO, they pull customers and fans in with beautiful gameplay and wonderful worlds, only to completely gut their own works a few years down the line. Not because their developers got bad at their jobs, but because production and management got greedy. Every move they've made with the Valko situation is a move they already made with Infinity Nikki, suddenly pulling out of a commitment, keeping silent under consumer demand until consumer demand becomes too loud to ignore, finally addressing their fan base but with half-assed words that barely give an explanation, removing game content, and completely rewriting storyline that make no sense, being rude when players complain, etc. As a matter of fact, I feel like us Valko supporters haven't even witnessed the worst that the company can give us. Not in the way Infinity Nikki players experienced. I learned all about what Infold did to them, and it was absolutely dirty. I feel like as we continue to protest for Valko's return, they will little by little show us their darker colors. They've already started by not addressing us as Dear Miss Hunter, Deep Space Hunter. It's only gonna get worse. I honestly spent some time thinking, now that I know what I know about Infold, what should I do? Should I just completely let go and forget about Valko and the game, or should I try to go harder on the company? I decided to go harder because the more I think about it, the more it feels so wrong to just let this go. If you dive deep into Infold, even deeper than Infinity Nikki, you can see that they have a pattern. Create a game, have it be wildly successful, sabotage it, create a new game, have it be even more successful than the previous one, sabotage it, and so on and so forth. Before Infinity Nikki, there was also another game called Nikki up to something. I don't quite remember. It was a successful game, but when it tanked, they made Infinity Nikki, which was even more successful than the previous game. And when Infinity Nikki tanked, they made Love in Deep Space, which was even more successful than Infinity Nikki. It seems to me that the reason Info doesn't learn their lesson on how not to be a shitty company is because they never face the consequences of their actions. Each time they come back, they just get richer. I've already been hearing rumors from girlies on Chinese social media that Infold is already planning a new game. That's their out. Each time they realize a game is on its way to dying out or not earning them as much revenue, they jump ship and move on to the next. I even heard that they'll probably just reuse lots of Love and Deep Space material for their new game, because again, that's what they do. They reuse the same love and something theme for previous games. There's Love Nikki and Love and Producer, the MLQ game. So at this point, it's clear they have a formula, and that formula has worked for them. They always get off without a smudge of dirt every time they cause trouble, and then they just get richer. The reason they haven't been panicked by what we have been doing so far is probably because they A, are used to it, and B, they're just telling themselves that they'll rely on their tried and tested formula and won't face any actual repercussions. So this does this mean that everything is completely hopeless for those of us who want Valko back? Not exactly. See, I paid close attention to what exactly makes them squirm in order to see what our options were. I think we all want this boycott. We all went into this boycott a little naive, not trying to downplay anyone's effort or the good work we put in, but we truly were undereducated about Infold. The first rule of winning a fight is understanding how your opponent thinks. I suggest everyone study Infold's playbook because they have a paper trail that we can use for our advantage on round two. Here's what they respond to. Number one, actual legal pressure. We saw that with government involvement in China, and many Chinese sisters on XHS are highly encouraging us to also take the legal route. Many Chinese players on Red Note were saying that maybe we can open up lawsuits or report them somewhere for consumer fraud. They were even sharing links and stuff like that, saying that since the bullies put legal pressure on them, it might be more helpful for us to do the same. Um, Number two, having their public reputation be at risk. The reason they acted so swiftly with Chinese crazies was because of domestic public perception. Many Chinese girlies feel that if their global public perception falls, they would definitely care. Not only would Infold care, but their government would too. Not sure if you know, but Love and Deep Space is no ordinary game. They were publicly backed by the Chinese government to promote Chinese soft power overseas. I'll make a post showing evidence for that, so I'll share that later. If Love and Deep Space is literally doing the opposite of what they were backed by the government to do, they will not sit back idly, especially given Chinese culture of trying to save face. So, what can we do for step two? We can maybe talk about it, share your story, be as loud as you can. I'm not saying run a smear campaign or start defamatory rumors. Just tell the truth because the truth speaks for itself in this situation. We'll make sure the news gets back to Infold and China. Keep mentioning boycotting. Don't stop um, with Infinity Nikki, sorry, they mentioned the word boycott so much that Infold began to block all comments that had that word, and they literally had to start using the word girl code instead. Eventually, after the public outcry from that, Infold was forced to make a public statement. So yes, I do believe it is possible to make them give us a statement, although it probably wouldn't be a satisfactory one because with Infinity Nikki, it was a really lackluster statement, but still, it's much better than silence. I think we should keep boycotting and mentioning that we're boycotting until they begin to ban the word because that will show that they're actually taking us seriously. Anyway, I'll keep thinking of more battle strategies, but definitely learn their playbook so that we don't go in blind this time. For anyone wondering why bother or why not give up, honestly, it's your choice whether you want to or to let go or keep on fighting. I just feel so enraged at the thought of Infold using love and deep space while ignoring us, then continuing on to reuse Love and Deep Space, Silas, Raphael, Xavier, Zane, Caleb, and Valko material to make a new game that will probably make them richer and convince them even more that true consequences aren't real. Many people sincerely believed that the downfall of Infinity Nikki was the end for Infold and paper games, but it wasn't. The same way that many people believe that this whole incident right now with Love and Deep Space is the end of Infold, but what if it's not? What if they just go on to bigger, better things? You know, because they came up with Love and Deep Space, so obviously it wasn't the end for them with Infinity Nikki. And yeah, I just can't sit back and watch as that happens again. I can't watch more innocent and unsuspecting people give their hearts and money to that company, only to face the heartbreak that we and Infinity Nikki players faced. We can be the ones to break Info's formula and prove that they won't get back another chance to let things slide and come back twice as rich, because we know how they fight, and they have severely underestimated us global players. Spread the word to anyone who wants to join the fight for round two. So yeah, I made that post sometime after I heard the news and stuff like that. And while I agree a lot with a lot of the things that I said, I also hadn't yet come upon the news that for sure, Infold is being slandered publicly in China right now. So I do feel like the post that I made at that time was kind of lacking. It's only a few hours after I made this post that I saw a video that was posted on Weibo where it showed this reporter talking about the whole Infold situation, and she was calling Valko dangerous, and she had this maliciously edited video of Valko playing, and the video was edited to make it look like Valko was attacking MC. That scene where in the I don't know where exactly it was, but Valko was kind of like pulling MC onto him and stuff like that. But they edited it to make it look like he was attacking her. So the whole thing just looked so wrong. And it was honestly so malicious. But what was even worse was that the reporter went on to say that the reason why global players are giving 1-star reviews on the App Store is because we hate Valko too. And so she was making the point that, oh, this game is bad for everyone. It's even giving us a bad image overseas. So, this whole thing should just be shutdown type of situation. Honestly, I don't know what exactly she was saying because I don't really speak Chinese, but from what I could understand and from what other players could understand, that was the point that she was making. And I even went on to Red Note and stuff like that, and they were saying that the media there is completely dragging Infold and Valko and the game through the mud and making all of these false claims and even using global players to support their claims by twisting everything. The truth is, we're putting those 1-star reviews because we want Valko back, not because we hate him. But they're making it seem like it's because we hate him. So they're twisting what we're doing to serve their agenda. And that was honestly just so dirty. So yeah, when I found out about that, I feel like my battle strategy thing, it kind of changed. I still stand with a lot of what I said before because it is true that Infold is not a perfect company. They do have past issues and even with Love and Deep Space players, we still have issues with them, and that can't be ignored. We can't just act like they're suddenly perfect just because we see that they're being victimized in other ways too. Just because they're being slandered and defamed and stuff like that, it doesn't mean that the issues that we have with them are no longer real. So now that we know about this whole situation, now that we know that it's a bit of both, they're both the victim and the villain, and it's not as black as or white as we might want it to be. how can we apply an appropriate battle strategy, you know? And I thought about that, and I feel like we should apply a more mixed battle strategy. On the one hand, we do want to show our global support for Infold so that they don't close the global server, and they don't make it so that Infold has to completely get rid of the game or anything like that. But at the same time, we need to show the people working at Infold that it would be more profitable for them to bring back a Valko. So yeah, I think we should continue to do the boycott, continue to not log in, continue to not spend money on the game. Log in as little as possible if you feel like you absolutely must log in. Just really try to keep it at a minimum. Don't do it every day. Try and do it every other day if you really, really, really want to log into the game. And keep those one-star reviews. Don't I've been seeing people say that maybe we should go and change them so that the Chinese media doesn't misunderstand. But I feel like then Info would misunderstand and think that we're okay with things. So keep the one-star reviews. um, to handle the Chinese media, I don't think we should go directly to them and you know confront them, because I feel like that could get Info into much deeper trouble. So definitely don't do that. I think it would be much better if you are on Chinese social media platforms to just go there, go to the comment sections where you see clips of these things being shared. Try and look for them and leave comments under it to clarify the truth. Say that no, actually, global players are not upset with the Valko. We want Valko back. Actually, the reason why we left those one-star reviews was because we were upset with Infold for canceling Valko. And keep on boosting the game in terms of like how it has taught you about Chinese culture, and link that to Valko and everything so that it's giving Infold a good image. Because remember what I said earlier, this is no ordinary game. It's being backed by the government to boost Chinese culture. Right, so someone also made this post talking about China's own cultural export mandate. So the Love and Deep Space was following China's own cultural export mandate. If China wants games to go global, it cannot punish a game for using broad international appeal. What the 15th five-year plan said. The 2026 to 2030 plan places online games inside China's cultural strategy. It says the healthy development of online literature, games, and audiovisual content should be guided and regulated. It also says cultural enterprises should expand globally, and high quality online literature, games, films, television, animation, and exhibitions should be promoted internationally. In short, Chinese games were told to go overseas and help strengthen China's cultural influence. Now, in 2026, Love and Deep Space was officially listed as a National Cultural Export Key Project. It appears as entry number 39 in the MOFCOM Key Projects PDF. The designation was issued by four bodies: Ministry of Commerce, Central Propaganda Department, Ministry of Culture and Tourism, and National Radio and Television Administration. That means the game was treated as a legitimate cultural export product, not as a trivial or socially suspect pastime. It was supposed to help Chinese made entertainment to go to global audiences. What the backlash missed. The point of cultural export is not to stay perfectly domestic in taste. Export works by attracting foreign audiences. If a game adds elements that appeal to Western players, that is not automatic betrayal. It can be market adaptation. Many Western players are willing to spend heavily on Chinese games. Their spending expands revenue, audience reach, and interest in Chinese creative work. So yeah, I feel like this is a really interesting article to read. I also saw someone else post about how there's this other Love and Deep Space player who is an overseas Chinese citizen, and basically this person was talking about how this whole incident with Love and Deep Space canceling Valko is really hurting the Chinese gaming industry's reputation overseas. And in the one of the last paragraphs, she mentions how Love and Deep Space's cultural export and overseas project are heavily supported by the state. If the state didn't value cultural export, why support it? They went abroad with the mission of the Heavenly Court, which means government mandate, and the results have been completely ruined by you guys. So it was a really interesting read. I suggest that you go and read it for yourself. It was really eye opening. And I also read on Red Note, this article that a Chinese player posted about how these water fighters or whatever, water armies, how they work. So maybe I should go and read that too. So the heading is, how many steps does it take to take down an industry leader? And this is translated from Chinese. Um, Ever wondered how many steps it takes to take down a leading company in an industry? Step 1, getting inside info, planting insiders who know all the market moves in your competitor's camp. Step 2, playing with emotions, doing deep research on their users to hit exactly the right emotional buttons. Step 3, moral pressure, using big labels and accusations to drag them down. Step 4, media setup, getting key media on your side to create a coordinated messaging strategy. Step 5, core takeover, putting Plan B into action by sending people to win over their core users. Phase 1, getting ready. In early June, we kicked off the fake uncle party plan by planting our insiders. We started dropping a mix of half true, half false info. The real stuff came from our insiders and was used to build credibility. The fake stuff was negative misinformation. Using the angering effect, we made people believe all the fake claims just because some of the real info checked out. Phase 2, stirring up emotions and real time guidance. June 22nd, real time emotion guidance during the live stream. We had lots of shills hanging out in the competitor's live stream, dropping comments to steer the conversation, using the bandwagon effect and emotional contagion. We pulled in casual viewers and got them caught up in the emotional whirlpool we created, setting up the first wave of public opinion. June 28th, we kicked off a second round of stirring things up with our insider's help. Our insider pretended to be just another viewer, dropping emotionally charged comments during the live stream. This created a coordinated attack from inside and out, hitting right at users' emotional weak spots and keeping the negativity going. Phase 3, surrounding them with public opinion and the final blow. June 29th, main move, launching a media blitz. When we saw our competitor wasn't backing down and might get ahead in overseas markets, we stepped up our game. We had our shills spread rumors among the already stirred up users while activating our preset up media network with the same IP addresses to create a coordinated narrative from multiple sources. This created a spiral of silence, leaving our competitor with no room to defend themselves. June 30th, we hit our main target, successfully forcing our competitor to take their competing product off the shelves. Phase 4, deep harvest and preventing a comeback, strategic cleanup period. July 1st to July 8th, main move, putting Plan B into action, winning over core users and managing expectations. We went undercover in our competitors' core user groups, spreading fake promises about a soon return and setting a specific but impossible deadline. When the deadline passed, we used the core users' huge disappointment and feeling of betrayal to trigger emotional backlash and internal divisions, completely breaking apart our competitor's base. July 6th, key result. Our competitor tried to talk about joining an exhibition but failed, and in the end, they couldn't make it because of the public pressure. We achieved our direct business goal of exclusive exhibition attendance. July 9th, final results. By coordinating emotions both at home and abroad, we managed to put pressure on overseas markets, lose core customers, and see key employees leave while our competitor was silenced by public opinion. We achieved a complete victory. This kind of operation with the zero business ethics will make all overseas players and partners see the Chinese gaming industry as good at infighting and skilled at underhanded tactics. Once trust is damaged, it's not just one company that suffers, but the future of the entire Chinese gaming industry going global. So I don't know exactly like what perspective this person was taking. I'm assuming that the translation from Chinese to English was, a bit strange. I don't think that they were talking as if like they themselves was part of this plan. It honestly makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way, especially because I'm just seeing on Red Note and Weibo that a lot of Chinese players are saying that the way that things blew up with the media was definitely very, very strange. Usually, even if bullies were bullying the company and demanding it to be shut down and spreading rumors about the game, usually people would have stepped in to quiet them down because cyberbullying is not a very good thing. The people would have definitely taken the side against the cyberbullies and not for the cyberbullies, especially when considering all the horrible, nasty things that they did to the company. But seeing public opinion side with the bullies and not against them was just really strange and odd to a lot of Chinese players. And for them, it was just clear that clearly this somebody tampered with things. There was a third party that was controlling things behind the scenes. A lot of people are pointing fingers and naming names, specifically calling out a specific company, but I'm not going to be doing that because I am not trying to get slapped with a defamation lawsuit, and I do not have 100% foolproof evidence that it was them and that that's what they have been doing. So, yeah, there's several videos that I have watched concerning this. I'll try to link them down below. I mean, I say several when it's not that much. But yeah, I think that they're really helpful videos to watch. One is about how Infold works as a company and their whole drama with Infinity Nikki, and the other one is about the situation with the Chinese government and public opinion from like kind of like a Chinese person who would be able to interpret things better. So yeah, I think that they're really informative videos to watch. Having said that, I would encourage all of you to keep on fighting. Like I said before, and like so many people have been pointing out, we knew from the start that this was a marathon and not a sprint. There was no way that this was going to end in a week. We need to keep on going harder. We need to keep on fighting. We need to keep on pushing. I know that a lot of people are speculating that the chances of getting Valko back are really, really low. But honestly, all I'm hearing is that it's not impossible. And that's all I need to hear to keep on pushing. As long as it's not impossible, even if the chances are very, very low, I will keep on fighting to get Valko back into the game because this game, the storyline, it is incredible. And I think for a while I had forgotten that. But the other day, I just went down like a deep dive of different theories that people have about the game on both Chinese and American social media. And all the theories were just incredible. The storyline was just incredible. And it really reinvigorated me. What was the word that I'm looking for? It okay, the word is not coming to me, but it made me feel like I do need to go harder. I cannot just give up. And that and the fact that so many Chinese players on Red Note were posting that they have tried everything on their end and they feel like they've hit a wall, so they're relying on us global players to do more, and I feel like we should do more for them because when we started this whole boycott thing and we reached out to the Chinese players to help us with the whole Bring Back Valko movement over on their side of things, they agreed in a heartbeat. So we should also agree now that they feel that they've hit a wall. Obviously, they probably can't go and start slandering their own media. Not that I'm saying that we should start slandering their media, but maybe it might be more effective for us global players to come out and clarify things, for people in China. So, yeah, keep on fighting and take care of yourselves.